Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Kristen Berry, coming to you from North UHQ in Annapolis, Maryland. Today we're talking about purpose, passion, and the power of the ocean. It's Veterans Day, and we're joined by two remarkable sailors, Peter Gibbons-Neff, Marine Corps officer, offshore racer, and 2023 Mini Transat finisher, and Jane Millman, the organizational wizard and driving force behind Peter's next big adventure. They also happen to both be North U coaches. Jane has led our annual Women's Only Performance Race Week held in St. Petersburg, Florida, every March, and she's assured me she'll be back to lead us again this year. And Peter has been a part of multiple performance race weeks and regatta experiences in the past. Together, they're taking on a brand new Mini Transat campaign, a race across the Atlantic in a 21-foot boat, while building a bridge between sailing and service through U.S. Patriot Sailing. So, Peter and Jane, welcome. So glad to have you here. Thanks for coming out on this blustery Annapolis day. I know we probably could have done this in the warmth of the library or maybe even around a pint of Guinness or something like that.
Yeah.
But I thought being out here with the Naval Academy in the background, you both have a connection to that. With Annapolis in the background, we all have a connection to that. Just made sense. And, you know, if this is tough, the Atlantic crossing is going to be really rough.
Yeah.
So, Peter, I want to start with you. Your resume reads like an adventure novel, right? We've got Afghanistan, we've got the Atlantic. How has sailing pulled all that together? And, you know, how'd you get here?
Well, thanks for having us here today. I'm really excited to talk about it. So with my past, I grew up sailing. I actually did a lot of high school sailing in the summertime right here at SSA where we're located. And then Jay and I live here in Annapolis, and Annapolis has been a really important part of my life, as well as sailing itself. And I got here through commissioning at the Naval Academy after sailing there for a couple of years in the offshore team, and then spent about 10 years on active duty with the Marine Corps. So did a lot of sailing and then spent a lot more time focused doing the Marine Corps thing out in the desert over the Middle East on ships deployed. So been kind of focused on both those things over the time.
Yeah. You just finished the Marine Corps Marathon, right?
That's correct.
How are your feet?
They're doing great. They're doing great. I did finish that 2 days ago, and we're doing okay right now.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. You've said that U.S. Patriot Sailing helped you find your footing after active duty. Can you talk about the moment when sailing became more than just a sport for you?
Yeah, so U.S. Patriot Sailing was a really important part of my whole story. They were there for me when I came back from a deployment, going through a really challenging personal time. And they helped me find sailing again, actually, because I'd gotten out of it for a while. And then they actually brought me in by asking me for help. And I didn't realize it until about 2 years later that really I needed the help myself, and they were able to provide that help and that support without me even asking it. So that's kind of how I got involved with the team. And it's a great nonprofit supporting the veteran community, navigate hardships such as coming back from combat deployments, transitioning to civilian life, rehabilitation after injury, doing these great things to support the community. And so that's why I'm so passionate about raising awareness for this organization.
So Jane, you've led teams all over, from the Naval Academy just across the river, to your work with Brendan Sailing, to junior programs up and down the East Coast and all over the place.
Yeah.
How did you get connected with Peter and this project?
Well, Peter and I have been together for just about 6 years now, and I was connected. I think we kind of planted the seed. We were talking originally about the double-handed offshore possibility for the Olympics. And then that's when Peter did a deep dive into offshore double-handed sailing and found the Mini Transat. And I think it was shortly after that he was fully committed. Kind of came back to me, was like, there's this boat for sale down the road, I'm gonna buy it.
Well, and to add something onto it, this was also during when the world was shut down with COVID also.
Right.
So I wanted to get back into sailing. And the only sailing that really started up was that French solo offshore sailing scene getting ready for the 2020 Vendée Globe. And so that's where we started following this Vendée Globe thing, the MOCAs out there. And then that's where we found that Mini Transat, this Mini 650 here in Annapolis.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the boat more in a minute, but you said, hey, honey, I've got this boat in mind.
Yeah.
And you guys have not just raced this thing, but you've cruised it as well.
Yeah.
I watch your adventures in Ireland and off the coast of France, and then you sailed through the Caribbean and then just weekend cruises here in the Chesapeake. What's that like?
Well, our Instagram handle for when we're just cruising the boat is uncomfortable cruising, because there are no comforts of the boat. I mean, you get really close to somebody and you know it's true love when you share a bucket. So
That's a shirt. That right there. Hashtag, you know it's true love when you share a bucket. I love it. For the uninitiated, what is the Mini Transat? Like, you know, I've seen some pictures, watched some videos, but let's hear it from somebody who's actually done it.
All right, the Mini Transat. It's a 4,000-mile solo offshore race in a 21-foot boat across the Atlantic Ocean. So it's 2 legs. The first leg goes from Les Sables in France to the Canaries. Then you rest and refit. And then it's 2,700 miles from the Canaries across to Guadeloupe in the Caribbean. So it's a long race. You have 90 boats racing, 90 boats all 21 feet long. And it's crazy. It takes 2 to 3 years to qualify for it. For my year, there was over 150 skippers that wanted to do this race. So it's very competitive in terms of the qualification process. It takes a while to do it. And it's just a remarkable solo ocean race that is one of the major French solo races. And it's also a feeder class towards some of the bigger boats too. So a lot of the mini sailors go from the Mini Transat to the Class 40 to the Mochas, racing solo nonstop around the world. So it's part of that French solo scene over there.
So you finished in 2023. What lessons are you bringing to 2026?
2027.
Or 2027, yeah.
So great question. So the race is every other year. They've been doing this since 1977. I'm gonna bring a lot of lessons learned. So I spent 3 years, over 15,000 miles sailing this boat. And a lot of that was solo racing in the Bay of Biscay, English Channel, across the Atlantic. Some of the lessons is the planning. The Mini Transat's one of those races where you don't feel like you're really ready to do the Mini Transat until you finish the race and cross the ocean, and then you're ready to go do it again on that boat.
Yeah.
So you learn so many lessons from the preparation, the logistics, the training, to the sailing itself. It's almost, you know, the race itself begins with the 2 to 3 years of preparation just to get to that starting line.
Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think a big part of the race is that it lays the foundation for single-handed offshore sailing. So there's no satellite communication. You've got a GPS. You're using lat long, plotting it on a paper chart. You're getting your weather on a single sideband radio. And so it's really just you and the elements out there. And I think that's what really makes these individuals that go up to the Vendée Globe that started the Mini Transat, their skills are very difficult to compete against.
So what time of year is the race taking place?
So it occurs in the fall. So the first leg starts at the end of September, and the second leg from the Canaries leaves at the end of October.
Got it. So on the single sideband, you can also get your World Series updates.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
tune in. Yeah, that's great. All right, next, let's see here. All right, so you're not going to do the next race on the old boat. Tell us a little bit about the new build.
So the new boat we're designing is going to be, it's the newest design for the fleet. It's essentially the only thing that's the same from the old boat is the length and the width of the boat. So 6.5 meters long by 3 meters wide. Everything else is completely different. Carbon fiber, canning keel, taller carbon masts, rotating wing masts, and then the new thing is foils. We're gonna have foils on this boat. So wing foils that come out the side, and then T-foils on the rudder. So it's gonna lift out of the water, and it's designed to go over 30 knots in the right conditions.
30 knots while you're sleeping?
Probably not when I'm sleeping, but the goal is to be able to foil on autopilot. That's the goal for this kind of boat.
Wow. Now, you had some trouble with your rudders in the last race. You're adding to sophistication and breakdown potential. How are you preparing for that?
That's a great question. So with this boat, I have a lot more control since it's strictly a box rule. I can make any modification within that box, so I'm gonna have a little more preparation for that. But essentially with the last boat, going 16 knots, surfing down a wave, hit something, one of the rudders ripped off the back of the boat. Unfortunate situation, sometimes it happens out there. Nothing I could have done at the time. But for the new boat, these are actually gonna have lifting rudders, which for the prototype that this is part of, you're allowed to have rudders that lift up. So in theory, if it hits something, it could lift up. But then also having the spares or the possibility of repair at sea is going to be something that we're going to factor into this next boat more than we could with part of the series that I was racing under before.
Yeah, carrying a spare carbon fiber rudder versus a solid fiberglass rudder is a little different.
Whole different animal.
Whole different animal.
Whole different animal.
Yeah.
So Jane, as the lead shore support, what's it like? I mean, you've got a new boat, You've got new race, new challenges. You got a skipper halfway around the world.
Yeah.
What's it like for being on the shore team?
The shore team. So it's similar to the last campaign in that we're still soliciting sponsors. We're doing the same races, just in the prototype class. I think the biggest change is just going to be the learning curve and how to sail the boat. So it's going to just be time on the water. So making sure that Peter has as much time on the water that he can get. And so some of that responsibility falls to me to make sure he can get there. And so, just making sure that we're working together as a team to find the money so that we can get out on the water and spend as much time.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I mean, I think a lot of people that dream of going sailing, especially in a high-profile racing atmosphere, don't recognize that much of the work isn't about the sailing. It's about getting to the sailing, getting onto the water, raising the money that's necessary.
Yeah.
Is that a full-time job for you all? What does that look like?
We'd like it to be a full-time job. I still have a full-time job. It's Peter's full-time job right now. And so, yeah, it would be great to be able to do that full-time, but also just to dedicate it because there's so much work. Once the boat's launched, yes, it's brand new, but there's always going to be boat work, tweaking, performance increases and making things better. So
are you putting on you're a very successful coach, not just for North U, but in lots of different classes. You're an amazing sailor in your own right.
Thank you.
So are you putting on your coaching hat for Peter as well and like trying to help him figure out how to best prepare on the sailing side too?
I don't feel I'm equipped to coach the foiling side of things, but I'm very much the logical. So he's the dreamer in the relationship, I'm the realist. And so I'm here to make sure that we're thinking through things logically and that we're utilizing that time, planning things out, making sure that logistics make sense to execute and utilize as much time as we can.
Well, it sounds like the sailing's solo, but the team is double-handed.
Yeah.
So who's the skipper?
It depends. Yeah.
A lot of shared responsibilities.
Yeah.
And we have our strengths in different parts of it. But we've done double-handed racing on this boat before.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of double-handed miles. So we understand sometimes one person's on watch, someone's off watch, and it rotates depending on what kind of event you're doing or what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
Well, double-handed sailing's just solo sailing where you can sleep, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think it does go back to like him being the dreamer, me being the more realist, and he'll bounce ideas off of me and we'll talk through it and figure out if that works or not. And so just whoever's the skipper, it depends.
Yeah.
Different situation.
Well, Jane, I have the good fortune of having worked with you and worked for you. And I know that as a dreamer, your realism never really stamps out the dream. It actually just makes it possible.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I want to make
cool.
it possible. So I want to find a way to make it possible. I just want to find the most logical way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And also, to be clear, this was a dream. Now this is actually becoming a reality because we are in the boat building phase right now.
Yeah.
So we're about to release some new photos of the actual mold, the plug and the mold getting built. And this boat's going to be launching in the spring. So it's happening. It's more than just a dream at this point.
Where's it being built?
So it's over in France. It's in a place called Le Trinité-sur-Mer. Ironically, it's about 100 feet away from where we had Terminal Leave, the Mini, for the last 3 years over in France. It just happens to be the next building over. One of the best boat building sites over there.
Carbon fiber boat builders.
Yeah,
in
so
France.
it's called JPS Production, and they're incredible, and they're working on building the boat right now.
I'm kind of curious on the carbon build side of things. So I've had the good fortune of sailing in carbon boats a little bit, right? And the idea of spending a week, 2 weeks, 20 days inside of a carbon shell doesn't breathe very well, not a lot of ventilation, it's really noisy, all that kind of stuff. How do you prepare for that? And are you putting any soundproofing panels in, or what does that even look like?
I think the biggest thing is for soundproofing panels, probably not. We're keeping as much weight as low as possible to be able to foil. Yes, it's going to be loud, but at the same time, I'm not sleeping very much, and I'm also going to spend a lot of time in the cockpit. So unlike some of these other bigger boats, like the Class 40s or the Mochas that are racing even longer distances, such as around the world, my longest leg will be a couple weeks long. So that is going to be, it's more of a sprint for this kind of a race. So essentially, we're going to figure it out when we're out there training, see what I need to do. But for the last race, my longest snap going across the Atlantic was only 40 minutes long because the boat would either wipe out, I was trying to push the boat, and honestly, I couldn't sleep longer than 40 minutes because I felt like I was going too slow at that point.
Yeah.
So this boat is all about maximizing the performance of the boat, yourself, and just trying to get there as fast as possible.
Awesome. All right, so this is kind of a question for both of you, and maybe we've already answered it when we talked about the fundraising, but this is a project that's multifaceted, multi-year. What's the biggest challenge that's behind the scenes that people will never see? Tell us what's behind the curtain a little bit.
The biggest challenge is the funding. Yeah. Getting the funding for a campaign like this, that's always the biggest challenge. We have some initial great support right now to get it started, but we're definitely looking for a lot more funding to get us to the finish line. That's always the biggest challenge, the logistics behind it. Jane can answer more. I mean, you can add more, but there's just always that behind the scene element of it needs to be a full-time commitment to make this happen.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of sacrifices that happen for it.
Yeah, I think the planning all the logistics and everything, like I feel like a travel agent sometimes more so than anything else, planning Airbnbs and making sure we're in the right place at the right time, and train tickets, airplane tickets, all sorts of things. And there is something to say that the funding is the biggest part. Peter's also done a lot of hard work to fund some of this initially himself. And so I think there's a lot of heart in this campaign. And I think a lot of people may not see that until they really get to talk to us, that there's a lot of purpose and heart behind this.
Yeah. Well, real talk. I mean, what's the budget for a project like this?
About $600,000.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So
but that's over 2 years.
Yeah.
So brand new boat, 2 years. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's no small task. From the nonprofit world, raising that kind of capital is really that's a big job. But connecting it back to the idea of this project is about more than just racing across the Atlantic, right?
Yeah.
This is going to affect a lot of different people. It's not just a vanity project for the two of you. So talk a little bit about that. What's the mission behind the mission?
So the whole mission, it's all about raising awareness for U.S. Patriot sailing and actually increasing the support to this nonprofit. So the first campaign, we spent 3 years raising awareness for it. We got a lot more veterans involved with the team. We have more boats donated, more donations to the program, and more sponsorship as well. We're taking it to the next level. We have additional goals beyond local racing. We want to do more international racing with the team, support more veterans, but then also provide other opportunities such as a cruising platform for veterans and their families. So we have there's a lot of things that we have in the background that we want to take to U.S. Patriot Sailing to take it to the next level. That is the goal, and we're using this Mini Transat campaign as the platform to bring more awareness to what we're trying to do with U.S. Patriot Sailing.
Awesome.
Yeah, and just to mention, we've seen measurable growth in U.S. Patriot Sailing. So we've seen over a 200% increase in participation in the team across the 5 different sites in the country. And 2 new sites were added within the last 3 years, partially due to the awareness that we've been bringing to this organization.
Yeah. So ocean racing's hard. Service is hard, right? What's the connection? Where do you see the parallels between the two?
So I think there's been a lot that I've learned through the military side, the training, things I've done on deployment that I've applied directly to the offshore racing. Things like when my rudder got ripped off, what do you do now? The questions that start going through your head, or sometimes you don't even have time to think and sit down and figure out what's next. You just have to go do it based off your instinct and your training. And so I think a lot of those lessons from the military I've been able to apply to both short-term, immediate things that have happened while I'm offshore sailing, but also the longer-term planning and the multi-year campaign of being able to get from point A of, okay, I'm just learning about the Mini Transat to racing solo across the Atlantic Ocean. There's a lot of steps involved. So between all of that, I've learned a lot from the military side and been able to apply directly to the sailing.
Yeah. All right, so Jane, you have obviously been a part of Navy sailing. You've seen that from the standpoint of how Navy sailing can impact the midshipmen at the Naval Academy, the recently graduated ensigns and second lieutenants who are working in the program that you ran there. What's your take on how military service and sailing share parallels?
I think my biggest takeaway is that in sailing, there's no 2 days that are ever the same. I mean, there's really no 2 hours that are ever the same. And the adaptability that you learn in sailing is something that transfers not only into a military career, but everything in life. And then also just being able to stay calm under pressure. In the military, you need that in all situations, and in making decisions, especially for officers, and learning how to stay calm under pressure and making sure your crew and the rest of the boat keeps moving forward, I think is really important.
Yeah. So obviously, both of you have a great deal of teaching in your background and coaching with North U. You've been a North U coach, and program leader. You've taught at the Naval Academy. You have taught junior sailing programs all around the country. You know, how has your performance sailing training influenced this campaign?
My performance sailing training has influenced this campaign in knowing that we have a finish line, we have a goal that we're working towards, and that we're always getting that much closer to the goal and working hard to get there. I think this new campaign is going to be a whole new level because it's not just sailing the boat, it's learning how to foil the boat and maximize the potential of this boat to go fast and to win. And like the ultimate goal of this next campaign is to win the Mini Transat. And so I think Peter will talk about it all the time. The rudder being ripped off was just a completely unfortunate event and could have happened to anybody.
Yeah.
But I think he handled it so well, and he's going, and he feel like he left a lot out on the table. And so he's going out there with a new drive and purpose to win this race.
Awesome. Is there a foiling North U in our future?
Absolutely, let's do it. Yeah, but North U has been a great part. I mean, North U has been one of the most rewarding experiences as coach myself. I love teaching the students that come to this program, but I also learn so much from them as well too. I learn something new every single time we do a coaching event. I learn something from the students as well, and so I've definitely applied that myself to my offshore sailing, absolutely. And it's incredible to see in a 5-day period where these people come from in terms of they come in with some great sailing experience, different levels, but what they come to at the end of it, by the time we finish that course, it's unbelievable to see. And I love it. It's just one of the greatest experiences every single week that we do these things.
Yeah, and I'll also mention that it's no matter how much you think you know about sailing, there's always so much more to learn. And I think that's the huge benefit of the North U Weeks is that people come in knowing a lot already, but they leave knowing so much more and having experienced so much more because they have the onboard coach and they're constantly learning their training positions and how many starts you go through, and you're talking through with the coach on board the different logistics and tactics and timing and everything for the start. It's just something you really don't get anywhere else.
Yeah. So what's next? When can we expect the Mini to hit the water? When are we going to start seeing videos of the boat flying across?
So we're going to launch the boat in the spring of 2026, and shortly thereafter, we're going to be sailing the boat. It's going to be a really quick turnaround, and by this summer, fully racing the boat as well too. So,
what's the racing calendar look like?
So there's going to be multiple races this spring and summer, and they're anywhere from 200 to 500 mile offshore races in the Bay of Biscay, English Channel, that area. And then in August timeframe, the off year from the Mini Transat, it's going to be a race from France to the Azores and back. So that's 2,600 miles solo. So that's the off year race. And then the following year, there's going to be
pause in the Azores, or will you round the Azores like the Farallots race and home?
Pause in the Azores for less than a week. It's a very quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And then the following year, we have more qualification races as well throughout the spring and summer, with the conclusion of the season with the Mini Transat in the fall of 2027.
So how do we follow? How do we how do we support the program?
You can follow us along on social media, so Instagram, Facebook, and we've got some YouTube videos up. But really, Instagram, there's a lot of videos out there too. A really great recap of the rudder being ripped off, and a lot of videos shared that he's never shared before. He was digging through the files a few weeks ago. So, and then also we have an email, a blog post that goes out, and so you can sign up for our email subscription at pgnoceanracing.com. And so you can sign up there and get the news first. We usually like to send the news out to our followers on our blogs first, and then do a public post via social media.
Everything's at PG and Ocean Racing. So at PG and Ocean Racing, pgnoceanracing.com.
PG and Ocean Racing. pgnoceanracing.com.
Exactly.
Got it. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for taking the time today. This was awesome. I know it was kind of a blustery, nasty day here in Annapolis, but are there any final messages, anything, especially as it might connect to Veterans Day and just anything you'd like to add that I didn't ask about?
Absolutely. I think for the veterans out there watching this, if you need help yourself, just don't be afraid to ask for help. but then also, if you can help other veterans out there, the community needs your support. And so I think it's a great call to action, a great day to think about this Veterans Day of just be able to help out your fellow veteran community. And U.S. Patriot Sailing is the way I'm doing it. It's a great way that you can support as well. And then there's other sailing programs out there as well and other nonprofits that support veterans. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do here is to support the veteran community.
Well, what a day. So this is what day is it? Day 4 of the race? But I'm exhausted. We're going through a front right now. And hopefully through the front soon because feels like it's taking forever to get through this thing. But we had, for hours, sustained 35 knots, gusting over 45 knots. It's been windy. Mini Transat 2023. Well, we made it through the night, and we are off the coast of Spain. I can see Cape Finisterre just off the port side here. Got the spinnaker up, sailing downwind all day today. Just excuse the mess, we're drying everything out. As I mentioned before, down below was super wet, and everything was dripping wet and just gross. So day 9 out here, it's under 600 miles to go to the finish line, down to La Palma and the Canaries. I think the first couple of days were really hard, trying to get out of the Bay Biscay, get around Cape Finisterre with that front. And I mean, after that front, it took a solid 3 days just to clean up the boat. And 3 days because everything was so wet and damp the whole time. And then it also just takes a lot of energy and time, and you're still racing the whole time. You're not hitting the pause button at all. But it has been a wild last couple of days. Drove most of the day and then also into the evening. It's been blowing about 18 to 22 knots, and we got the big spinnaker up, and we are flying downwind. Day 11 here, and we are south of Madeira and west of Morocco on the Atlantic Ocean. All right, final day out here. 80 miles till the finish. 80 miles, and we're going 11 knots right now. Got 3.8 knots of wind, 3.9. But it's light. We're barely, I mean, we're drifting. And we have 11.3 miles to the finish line. It is 12:30 in the morning now on October 7th, and we are slowly drifting. The last few miles have just been painfully slow. So we did it. We crossed the finish line of leg 1 of the Mini Transat. Finally drifted across with the help of the current. Hey, we're here. Hey. Oh my goodness. Hey. Cheers, everyone. Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Awesome downwind sailing down the coast off Portugal and off the west coast of Africa there. Just incredible downwind sailing for days on end. That was awesome. The last 48 hours of the race before the wind died were just unbelievable, incredible.
For the next step, are you ready? Are you happy?
Oh yeah, I mean the boat's doing great. I'm here. I'm ready for the next leg of the race.
So
let's do it.